Welcome to this week's show. I'm so excited to talk about your skill today, Chantal. Tell us a little bit about who you are before we get into that.
I'm super excited to be here and I'm super stoked to talk to you. What the heck is intuitive eating? My company name is Papillon Wellness Coaching, and I'm French Canadian, so I wanted to honor that a bit. And papillon means butterfly in English. And my mission is to help people break up with diets, eat, nutritionally, and move with fun without an ideal body shape. I want to completely get out there that you can move. You can eat, nutritious foods. You can eat all the foods. And it has nothing to do with tied to be a certain body shape or size. So that is my mission.
Yeah. So how did you find intuitive eating? Like I've heard of it before, but it's this kind of like mysticky thing. Like I couldn't, I don't know that I could describe it to somebody. And so how did you even come across it?
So yeah, because it's not sexy, right? You can't kind of sell it in a short, like, lose 10 pounds, right? People get that. But intuitive eating is you're kind of going to reject the diet culture altogether.
Mhm.
During the pandemic, kind of in the phase when we were kind of getting back into the groove of things, like we weren't sure socially, and we had collectively gone through this, like, I'm just going to call it trauma because I don't know anyone who had a good time over the past 2.5 years, sitting on my couch, drinking my coffee, minding my own business. And then a commercial comes on and it's like, lose the COVID-15. I got so mad, I wanted to throw my coffee cup at the TV.
Yeah.
Because it negated it just kind of got rid of everything that we had gone through as a group.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, in order to present yourself now to the world, you had this added pressure that you had it to look a certain way.
Yeah.
And I just thought there has to be a better way. And I was already eating intuitively, but I wasn't certified yet. So the training has helped me get the language, the skill sets, and just kind of the whole framework of like what it is being an intuitive eater, what that looks like. And it's not about perfection.
Yeah.
It's about riding that middle ground, that like balance that's really tough for a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah. So because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there like me who have minimal to no idea like what intuitive eating is and would really struggle to define it for other people. Like teach us what is intuitive eating?
So it started in the 1990s by two dietitians, and they launched a book. And since the book's been published, they have over 125 research studies done. So
Wow.
this thing is evidence-based model, and we are lucky enough as being trained by the actual source. So the information is not watered down at all.
Yes.
It's based on 10 guiding principles, and I have my lovely handout.
I love this.
And they go hand in hand, right? Because it's not like you learn one step and then you move on to the other and set it and forget it.
Yeah, so it's not like it's not something where you kind of like step one, step two, you have to go in order, build on one.
Not at all. You can kind of
Yeah.
pick and choose, and then it's right. It's not about perfection. So you're never going to achieve perfection a step and then go on to the next. And they really, really go together.
Yeah.
So the middle part of my sunflower says satisfaction. So that's one of the principles. And it's basically finding satisfaction with food and just with movement as well. Because if we eat things that we don't like, that we're getting no satisfaction from it, well, then what do you think is going to happen? Right? Like I hear people when they're on a diet, they're like, I can't wait to eat XYZ again. That makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Because then it's like as soon as the 30 days or however long you're doing it, as soon as that time is up, everything goes out the window.
So, 2/3 of people who will go on diets will regain more weight than they originally started their diet with. So it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go through like some of them super briefly, but just to give a synopsis of what the 10 principles is.
Yes.
So reject the diet mentality. Huge. Diet culture is all around us. It's everywhere as we go. We just can't be in a bubble isolated from it. But it's learning to like, hey, who do I actually follow on social media? Does it make me feel good about myself? Does it bring me joy? Or do I feel negatively about myself and I feel that I need to look a certain way?
Yeah. Even kind of paying attention, I imagine, to like, the things that you're following on social media, they may not be diet, nutrition centered, but still like, are there other kinds of accounts that are maybe kind of like subtly kind of pushing some of those messages, even if it's not intentionally?
Correct, right? So some people I stopped following altogether, and others I take what they say with a grain of salt and just kind of take some of the information, other information, I throw away. Like someone posted a few weeks ago that corn makes corn syrup, so therefore corn we should not be eating. I'm like, that's messed up. Corn's a food.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter. It's a byproduct of corn syrup. It has nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
we're pushing diet culture out the window here, going through
out
our
the
social
window.
media, like a cleanse a little bit when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah. And it's hard for a lot of people to kind of really let go of the diet mentality. And that's okay, right? We're not expecting people to get there at 100%.
Right.
It's at your own pace. And what are you able to kind of change in your life today?
Yes. Yeah.
So make peace with food, all the foods. The minute you remove a food or a whole entire food group from your repertoire, well, then you miss it. You want it, right? It's just human nature to want what we can't have that we actually like and enjoy.
Oh,
So
yeah.
what happens? Eventually we break down, we eat said food, and then we're like, what the F happens, right? I've messed up. So then it's kind of a circle emerges,
Yeah. Yeah. And we're
right?
especially going into a time of year right now where like, oof, like Thanksgiving is right around the corner, holiday season is right around the corner. There's a lot of that opportunities for us to kind of want things and to maybe kind of set some of those limits, and then times where it can kind of get thrown out the window.
And this is a perfect time of year where, the diet industry as a whole, it's like ramping up. You're going to, right? Like January 1st, all these resolutions that are not sustainable.
Yes.
And I'm sick and tired of it.
Yeah.
Like they just don't work, period.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another one of the kind of goes with the diet culture is challenge the food police. The food police can be in your head or it can be outsiders.
Yeah.
So you kind of learn a lot of mindfulness, body awareness skills to kind of like, someone once made shame. I was eating a banana and someone just came up to me and said, that has a lot of calories. And I was able to kind of just, zone in and be like, bananas are good. They have potassium. And I kept eating said banana and just kept it moving along.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you kind of,
I mean, it's a banana.
yes, but the food police is kind of everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with intuitive eating, you kind of learn, are you, going to act or react,
Mm-hmm.
right? Are you coming from like a parent mentality, a child mentality, or the adult? It has a lot of like psychological knowledge kind of based into the model, which kind of really, I don't know, it kind of attracted me to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So feel your fullness is another principle where you kind of get to gauge like, how full am I? Am I hungry? Am I thirsty? And do I need a snack size meal? Do I want a full size meal? Do I want a fun food?
Yeah.
Right? Like back to that satisfaction. At times I'm like, I kind of don't know what I want to eat. So I'm like, I love Spice Girls. Tell me what you want, what you really, really want.
Yes.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what I want, right? Because I'm in tune with myself.
Yeah. So how do you, because I'm thinking about how like there have definitely been times where I thought I was hungry and it turns out like I was just super dehydrated and I really just needed some water. And so like, how do you differentiate between, am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Like, how do you figure out what it is that you want?
Well, I kind of, it's like a mental checklist.
Mm-hmm.
I seriously ask myself in my mind, like, am I hydrated? Like, what have I eaten today? What have I drank today? What do I feel my body needs? Right? Like, is my body sending me signals of thirst?
Mm-hmm.
Is my stomach maybe growling? Am I getting hangry? Right? All these kind of awareness comes into play of like, and maybe it's both, right? You could be thirsty and hungry too.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Certainly a lot of like opportunities for mindfulness to come in, right? And really kind of like just building awareness as to like what are those signals, those signs that your body sends you, because some of us have kind of maybe lost touch with what those messages are. if we ignore them for so long, like we don't pay attention to them anymore. And so it also sounds like a big part of this is like getting a little bit back in tune with like the messages that your body is sending you.
Yes. Right? Because when you're restricting calories or when an app is telling you when you can eat, what you can eat, you're kind of not in tune with your hunger signals at all, right? They kind of get maybe shut down. They're not like working properly. So
Yeah.
with intuitive eating, you do learn a lot of mindfulness steps, like a lot of maybe a guided meditation, visualizations to kind of get you in tune and learning to trust those cues.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you become your own autonomy of like, hey, I'm hungry and here's what I want to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And you're kind of getting to realize too, okay, when I eat certain types of food, I may have more energy, right? Like they may sustain me longer, or I like this, which
Yeah.
plays into it, right? So one of the principles of intuitive eating is gentle nutrition,
Mm-hmm.
not hardcore, steady fast rules.
Yeah.
It it premises that, an apple for sure has maybe more nutritional value than say like a candy bar.
Mm-hmm.
But moralities are the same,
Okay.
right? You're not good for eating one, you're not bad for eating another.
Right.
And if you eat an apple once, like no one food will make you healthy or unhealthy.
Right. Right. And that makes a huge difference. Right. Like, oh gosh, I haven't had fruit. I'm gonna go have one apple. Oh, I'm good for the whole week. Like, okay.
Right. you know,
We got to develop the, I mean, these are habits. This is a lifestyle that we're kind of trying to build in, it seems like. And so,
it
and
is.
coming back to like, coming back to the center of your flower, right? Like, is it bringing you satisfaction? Is it sustainable, right? Are you going to be able to keep up with it?
And it's learning to treat yourself with compassion and kindness.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be a super difficult piece with the added, the all or nothing or black and white thinking. That gets targeted because that just doesn't work. No one's perfect. I know I'm not. Right? My eating's not. What eating is even like perfect?
Right. Right. There's not like a one perfect look for that because everybody's bodies need different things. And even then, like my body might need something today and it might need something completely different next week.
Exactly. It kind of allows us to view our body sizes and shapes as, your shoe size.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's kind of genetic. You can't really alter how you are.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So I've lost a little bit of count over like how many of the principles we've gone over. I've heard a
I
handful
know
of
we've
them, I think,
gone,
at this point.
we've gone through quite a lot. So one of my top ones is movement.
Yes, yes.
Bodies are meant to move. They just are. For so long, we've been like shoved the message of all or nothing. It doesn't matter. Go back to the satisfaction. What sparks joy? What do you like doing?
Mm-hmm.
And in the intuitive eating guidebook, like it has like a whole bunch of activities that you may want to try, right? I mean, Zumba. I do aerial sills. I love it because it's a social aspect of, movement. I can connect with people. There's social interaction, right? Do you like to garden? Do you like to standing up row sups, standing up? You know what I mean?
Stand up paddleboarding.
Yes. Right. You want roller skating, rollerblading, jumping in a trampoline. There's so many movements possible out there,
Yes.
and it has zero to do with calorie count or weight loss.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. We feel better when we move. Blood pressure can go down. It can help manage, some anxiety symptoms, right?
Yeah.
And so much more. It has zero to do with weight loss.
Yeah. Well, and I like how you even mentioned like gardening as like an exercise, right? Like it doesn't have to be going to the gym or a fitness class or like lifting weights, right? Like your movement can be doing something else that's something like a hobby that you enjoy. I'm thinking
Yes.
like gardening, or I'm thinking like, oh man, like even when I've like baked something in the kitchen, like I'm moving around, like especially if it's something pretty intricate, right? Like I am moving all around trying to like balance so many different things at once. Like there is some movement happening, even if I'm not like working up a full sweat. Although sometimes I do because you got a lot going on.
There is, right? Housework. That is movement in itself.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just put music on my house and dance. that is movement,
Yeah.
right? So it's kind of looking at movement out of this little box into, how it can help us, right? What do we want out of movement? Is it to get stronger so we can maybe pick up a child or a grandchild, or, not injure our back when we're getting out of bed? There's so many benefits to moving
Yeah.
other than weight loss. I mean, I'm super passionate about movement. I've been moving since my mid-20s. I played sports like in middle school. So I'm in the process of getting certified as a personal trainer because I want to bring the fun in fitness
Yeah.
because it's there.
Yes. Yeah. We just got to find what it looks like for you, right?
Exactly. It's what does it look like to you? So
Yeah.
it's tailored to, moving maybe look differently between, say, the two of us, but at least we're moving and
Yeah.
we're having fun while we do it.
Exactly. Exactly.
So respect your body is also one of the principles. And that has to do, by actually feeding your body, nourishing it, hydrating it, and just not talking trash to yourself in your head.
Hmm.
We're with us every day. And, right? So we can be our worst enemy, our worst critic.
And we often are. And so, definitely, this kind of ties back to that self-compassion piece, right? Like, really, if you wouldn't say it to a friend or someone that you love, do you, is it helpful to be saying it to yourself? Probably not.
Right. So, it's like that whole compassion piece. And right, intuitive eating is built in that there will be mistakes. So we kind of look at it as a spiral. We're like, when a mistake or, something happens, oh, it's a learning experience, right? What can we learn from an experience? So you can just kind of continue to grow because we learn all through our lives and we're going to learn stuff about us and be like, I didn't realize that. And looking at it from like a different perspective instead of bashing ourselves makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it definitely is something that like takes practice, right? And all of these principles I'm hearing are things that like some days it's going to come easy, some days you're going to feel on top of it and good to go, and then other days it's going to be the hardest thing that you do that day.
Because, no one's perfect. If I can get any message across, no one's perfect. No one's a perfect intuitive eater. That does not exist.
Right.
But it's kind of the whole, can we treat ourselves with compassion and kindness and maybe in a sense, reject the diet mentality and find a comfortable relationship with food?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's possible. I swear.
Yes. Yes. So have we gotten through all the principles?
Oh God, I hope so. Looking at my little flower. Okay, the last one. Cope with cope with your emotions with kindness. Emotions are natural. We all have them.
Yes, we're not robots, right? We're humans, which means we get to experience the full range of human emotion.
Right. So it's kind of, what am I feeling? What am I thinking? What's my behavior then? Right. Do we need to kind of work maybe in a thought process a bit to kind of change it? Because there's no right way to feel.
Hmm.
It, and emotions come and go, right? How you feel 20 minutes from now, it may completely change. That's okay too.
Yeah.
And with intuitive eating, it's built into like, let's maybe work on recognizing what it is you're feeling, where you kind of feel it in your body, what that feels like, right? And it's just basically becoming super aware of what's going inside of you and how your environment plays into that as well.
Yeah. 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 Coming back to that mindfulness stuff, right? Like just really
Yep,
building awareness of and getting to know yourself a little bit more.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So, of all of these principles, because there's a lot, right? And I can
Right.
imagine that sometimes, like, I'm thinking, like, oh man, like, I feel like all of these things can be helpful. And if I tried to just start doing all of them tomorrow, I'm probably going to flop, right? Just because it is a
Right.
lot to just do all at once. So like what is your like go-to one? What's the one that you feel like you implement the most in your life or you feel like you continue to come back to, especially maybe on one of those days where like it is taking a little bit more work to practice this?
Right. So my one thing that I do that I've been doing for a long time now is that I have no apps that track my calories, zero,
Mhm.
or to input my food that I'm eating.
Yeah.
it's easy, but not, right? Because some people are tied to like, how many calories can I still eat today? Like, what are my steps? What,
Yeah.
and that kind of messes with the mindfulness piece
Mm.
because then you're relying on an outside data source versus your own, what is my exertion level, right? Like, do I need to tail it back today? Does my body need rest?
Hmm. Yeah.
So I invite people, even if they just want to do one day, right? Maybe if you're part of any type of movement, if say you go to the gym, could you maybe not use the app for one day and actually check in with yourself and say, all right, did I enjoy my workout, my movement? Did it feel okay? Like, what can I take from it other than I burned X amount of calories?
Right. And maybe that feeling of accomplishment comes from like, I had movement or I did the thing rather than like, oh, I hit this certain number. Right.
Yeah. Because through like getting trained intuitive eating, I've really realized that all my movement exercises and activities have zero to do with calorie count. Like, I don't care. I don't even think about it. It's like, do I like it? Have I learned a new skill? Am I able to do X, Y, Z? Maybe more than I did like a year ago.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what keeps me going
Yeah.
because if you're purely moving to lose weight, eventually that's not going to work. It's not going to keep you motivated and going.
Hmm. Right. Right. There needs to be something more than that, especially because that's something that can fluctuate. Right. And so what's the thing that's going to help you be sustainable and feel satisfied with it? Right.
Yes.
All coming back to the center. So if people want to learn more about intuitive eating, how can people get information on like what that is or maybe kind of learn more about what some of these principles are?
Sure. They can reach me through social media, my website, my email. But I would love to hear people, comments, thoughts, and just get a community going.
Thank you so much for teaching us about intuitive eating. I feel like I learned a lot and I'm excited to kind of explore some of this and maybe think about like what are maybe the one or two principles of this that maybe I want to think about trying to be a little bit more intentional about just in my own life.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.